Hi, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight on this live Google Hangout to chat Redesign Challenge. We have a couple of special guests with us tonight. First, we have Masha Usakanen, who is the Program Officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She is the leader of the K-12 Professional Development Marketing Strategy. She was also Director of R&D at Wireless Generation, where she led an evaluation of algorithm-driven products. And before that, she was Literacy Coordinator at the New Jersey Department of Ed, where she designed and delivered state-level professional development focused on supporting New Jersey's Abbott's District. But she also began her career as an elementary school teacher in Harlem, New York. And she's also one of my very favorite people, so I'm so happy that she's here today. And I'd also like to introduce, we're chatting with Kip Hopman, who is in his 12th year as a Spanish teacher, a National Board Certified teacher, a Hope Street Group Fellow for the state of Kentucky, Center for Teaching Quality, virtual community organizer, and a member of the Gates Foundation Teacher Advisory Council. And Brad Clark, who is an amazing educator who just transitions to his role as Director of Teacher Engagement for the state of Kentucky for Hope Street Group. So these three fabulous folks are going to be chatting with us tonight about Redesign Challenge. And I would like to introduce also my partner in crime here tonight, Rosa, who is a community guide along with me. And we're hoping to guide this chat so that you can learn a little bit about Redesign Challenge. All right. I know that many of you are watching live tonight. And if you are, we would like you to go ahead and feel free to tweet questions at hashtag RDChallenge. And we'd like to get your questions. We have a few for these folks tonight, but your questions are most important because we want to know what you want to know about Redesign Challenge. Okay, Rosa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We are excited to be here and learn all about the Redesign Challenge, and I know we're going to have an excellent audience and some excellent questions and comments today. Remember, it's hashtag RDChallenge. So I would love to ask Ms. Masha a question. We want to learn more about the Redesign Challenge. What was your vision? What did you set out to create with the Redesign Challenge?
Thanks, Rosa and Lisa, for that lovely introduction. So I think Redesign Challenge was born out of the realization that innovation, good ideas already exist within our system, and we should probably stop taking an outside-in approach to get those things to spread and should start looking inside and sharing out these incredible ideas. Practices, approaches that teachers, coaches, principals, administrators in our system are already taking. And I think also after talking to a number of teachers at the TAC convening, at ESAC convenings, we all collectively agreed that the public needs to get its voice back in public education. And there are opportunities for teachers to talk to one another at conferences, etc., but we probably need an innovation sandbox and a place where those ideas and conversations can be captured, and also a place where they can be honored, celebrated, micro-funded, shaped into real tangible things that could be tried out in the classroom. So that is sort of how this idea was born, and it was not born in my head, I'll tell you that. I think the incredible teachers I talk to all the time were the ones who actually came up with it, and I just sort of helped bring it to life.
Thank you so much for that, Masha. I heard teacher voice. I heard honoring the work that teachers are doing and bringing about change from the inside out. So they are the experts, and tapping into that expertise. I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
So, Masha, I would say that since the first time I heard about your work with Gates TAC, I was very excited about it. And part of the reason I was very excited is because I could sense right from the beginning that it was very much grounded in teacher work and teacher voice and teacher input. And I know that you're very intentional about what's been happening with Redesign Challenge. So You know, Kip and Brad were two of the community guides in the alpha stage, the pilot stage of Redesign Challenge. And I'd just like to know, why was it that you chose Brad and Kip and also Chris Bronke as your first team of community guides for the Redesign Challenge?
So you mean besides the fact that they're super awesome? So, you know, as I was talking to folks about this idea, I think we were all in New Orleans, and I was looking for people who were willing to take a stab with me during the pilot and who were willing to invest some time and energy in figuring out whether or not we could actually support a rich dialogue in the online sphere, because I wasn't convinced, and I don't think they were convinced that we could pull this off. And so I sort of asked around and recruited some folks into a preliminary conversation, and then the three of them emerged as, not only are they sort of leaders in the community that you guys are super aware of, but they were very much willing to take a stab and help us figure out, like, how do you recruit people into an online conversation? What are the right tactics that we can pull from the Twitter sphere and from, in Kip's case, the CTQ experience that could really help shepherd this along? And what are, given your network, some of the best ways to engage people once they have an idea in a conversation about how to shape it? And Brad, for example, works with Sam, who's one of the incredible contributors on the Redesign Challenge site, and he had an offline sidebar with Sam to encourage her to participate. So I feel like the three of them brought a really good knowledge and good sense of how we could get people comfortable in this space via both online and offline tactics, so that the conversation is rich and leads to some really good ideas.
Right. And just wondering here today, Masha, did these three rise to your expectations?
Wow, okay. Well, absolutely. You know, beyond my expectations. I think, you know, I love Star Trek. To me, this is sort of like the new frontier that we're exploring here. And one of the things that emerged, I think, our initial sort of mini launch is that we learned that it's really hard for you guys to do this work, right? Like, you're full-time teachers, principals, and it's end of the year, so thank you so much for even being on this Google Hangout. And I think what they helped us realize and shape is a much better strategy for how we can work with community managers in different ways, or how we could help community managers specialize and sort of take the limited amount of time they have and really hone in on some particular skills like recruitment or these Google Hangouts, etc., so that you're not sort of trying to play a generalist role, but are really focusing on the things that get you jazzed. So they absolutely rose to my expectations, and I'm so grateful for that learning experience.
That's great. I would expect nothing less of these three.
I don't know if I rose to their expectations, so you should actually probably ask them the same question.
Well, actually, that's a great segue into my next question here. So it sounds like you had a really great team. We have a great team now. So I'd like to ask a few questions of them. Can you share with us a bit about your experiences with the pilot challenge of the Redesign Challenge? Kip, can we start with you? Tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Sure, thank you, Rosa. Real quick before I jump into the start of the experience, I just wanted to say, before starting and for Masha's gracious invite to be part of the pilot, I was, you know, amazed with her passion, and just I sat in chatting with her about, you know, her vision and idea, and she kind of opened my eyes to, yeah, there are many thoughts and many ideas within professional development, you know, that people already have that could be shared, and so I went into the pilot with just, it was, I wouldn't even consider it any type of extra work. It was just a love for this community, and so for me it was an immediate positive learning experience, trying to figure out how to personalize the experience for all those who had decided to join the conversation. And I had done some previous work with Center for Teaching Quality, engaging on some online conversation, and this to me was kind of follow up on that, piggyback. It was a deep dive, and I realized quickly that people are hungry. All types of educators were hungry for conversation wrapped around professional development. In this case, the challenge with professional development and videos, how to improve and what to do there. So I think that was such a positive learning experience for me, and then also within the pilot, just the behind the scenes work with the community managers, and I think we were all about trying to individualize the experience and make the community a whole for everybody involved. So it was an amazing experience, and I really, really quickly got a lot out of it. So, Brad, what do you think? Anything to add?
So one thing that I think you really hit on, from maybe not necessarily the challenge perspective, but just the type of collaboration that you, Chris, and I had in trying to problem solve and find out how to best support the people within that community. That's probably one of my big takeaways professionally from the experience. But I mean, I was interested in Redesign Challenge because it's just such a great idea, right? Like, it's an opportunity to do a really in-depth problem analysis with like-minded, solutions-oriented educators from around the U.S. I think we're seeing right now on the Redesign Challenge too that there are a lot of folks from Kentucky that we interact with on a near daily basis, it seems like, and just to see their ideas really take hold with people from around the U.S. has been really empowering. I think some of the challenges that we saw in that initial stage of the pilot were just really design elements, right? So how do you structure replies to where it's very logical and user-friendly? And the team around Redesign Challenge, Mobility Labs, and Jess Wood as a facilitator who's been amazing. They want that feedback in the refining process, and I think that what's so encouraging about this website is that it's a platform that is constantly refining and adapting to the needs of the community, and as more people get involved, I'm really encouraged to sort of see what comes next. So they have this virtual community where the conversation is going on, and as Masha sort of indicated, I was talking with a colleague, Samantha Sams, and she had a great idea. And I was like, it sounds like you need to go onto the Redesign Challenge and talk about that. And as she did, she was validated by people from around the U.S. And in that process, she's taken that offline, those ideas offline, and is trying to do some stuff here in the state with that. And so it's this constant sort of ping pong between virtual space, face-to-face, virtual space that really has so much potential for the Redesign Challenge to have a big impact.
Excellent. Thank you. I heard words like personalize, community, problem analysis, all really important pieces of a learning community. So thank you, Kip. Thank you, Brad, for sharing that with us.
All right. I'm going to hop in real quick. Brad, I'm going to throw this question to you. We have a question from Wicked Learning on Twitter, who's asking about the design process and the tools and protocols that are used. Can you give them a little insight on those things about the Redesign Challenge?
So if only Wicked Learning and I were able to have a conversation, I'd ask a clarifying question or two. But the design process, so I'm going to interpret that going from stage to stage to stage.
Brad, let me set you up a little bit. This particular tweeter is a friend of the Doug Hodum, and I believe they teach in the same school. And Wicked Learning asks, or actually dabbles in design thinking quite a bit in his classroom, and he does some presentations. So if I had to guess, he wants to know a little bit more about the interweaving of design thinking and the process for Redesign Challenge.
Okay, sure. So I think that the first stage really looks at sharing the experiences, and from that, you have all this opportunity to mine that information from the community manager standpoint and present it back to the group for stage 2 purposes. And so in stage 2, as some of those new solutions are being formed, there's this constant cycle. So like in this is my understanding of design thinking as a humanities teacher, but design thinking is not linear, it's very cyclical, right? And so as these experiences become commonalities between some of the users, and as those solutions start to form based on these common experiences, you're seeing some of the users go back to the experience stage and mine that again in order to keep refining that solutions-oriented process. And so then you start looking at like generating ideas, and people have the opportunity within Redesign Challenge to keep adding to each other's ideas. And so there's this constant sort of refinement that takes place. And those protocols or that process is in place to really make sure that the idea that it's a generative conversation between the users, so that they are building on each other's thinking, and you don't have 12 ideas that are very similar but going off in different directions. So it's all working towards the same purpose. I don't know if that answered your question. If you want to direct message me, I'd be happy to explain it a little bit further.
I love the way you explained that, Brad. This is Masha, and I really appreciate your call out on the cyclical nature of the process. I would say if you're, if Wicked Decent Learning, if you're really into sort of D-School's model, I think what we've sort of added, if we can even say we've added it to this particular approach, is the opportunity for the people who teamed around an idea to then go off into an offline setting and get the resources and sort of supports they need to put the meat on the bones of that idea. So I think very often what we've heard from educators is they get really frustrated when they have an incredible idea, they share it, and then nothing happens. So we try to sort of pull the thread between the awesome process Brad designed, team people around ideas, and then give them sort of the opportunity to try the idea out and capture what's working and what isn't. And an idea is developed and you download it a year from now, you can get that entire story in your hands and can refine it because it's super organic to support your English language learner population or special ed population. So those are sort of, I think, the add-ons we made based on feedback from educators, so that these ideas could actually be implemented in the field and could be valuable to them.
All right, great. Masha, this one's going to go out to you. We talked about the cyclical nature of the process, and I think that you're right. Brad was just dead on with how he talks about that. He just has a way. And when I started thinking about Redesign Challenge and what really would drive people to join us in this adventure, I think to the work of Simon Sinek, and where he talks a little bit about inspired organizations and inspired leadership, and saying, you know, regardless of what the organization is or who the leader is, they communicate from the inside out. And he says that people don't buy into what you do, they buy into what you do, why you do it. So I'd like to throw to you today, Masha, what is your why, or your purpose, or your cause? Why does Redesign Challenge exist?
Wow. I really like that question, and it's really hard. You know, as a former teacher who worked in the inner city, I think it exists because teachers are on the hook, so are the principals and coaches that they work with, to innovate and support their kids and the kids' parents, whether or not they have the resources and supports in place, right? That's the job. And so one of my favorite movies, I think, is Apollo 13. And what I love about that movie is that, you know what, those guys had like duct tape and napkins, and they developed a solution. And I feel like teachers that I know and have had the privilege of working with, as well as those who support them at the leadership level, are doing that sort of Apollo 13 exercise on a daily basis. And we need to honor that. And I think that's really, really important. We need to honor that, and we need to capture that, and we need to share that. But when we share it, to go back to your why, we can't just say, hello, everybody. Here's a case study. You should do this as well. Because they need to own that recipe, that idea, and make it their own. And so I think having a mechanism where we can honor and share incredible things that people are already doing, but then give others the opportunity to refine those approaches to meet their own context is really important. And the last thing I'll say is, I worked in product development. I think products are a really good way. They're ingredients in recipes, right? They can make processes more efficient, but I don't think they're the end-all, be-all solution. They can never be the solution for every kid in every classroom and every teacher. And so I think it's really important to have a place where we can wrap processes around products, not try to respond and implement products with fidelity and force that implementation if it doesn't work for our students or kids. So I think sort of having the opportunity to talk about products in a way that actually makes sense to teachers in the work that they're doing, rather than as sort of an isolated, piece of software that gets purchased and that you're being asked to use, is a really, really important mindset shift for us. And I think the PD Video Challenge is a great example of where we developed some tools that could be really helpful, but now we need the input from the people to understand how they actually fit within your workflows and how they can actually support you.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. All right, Rosa, I'll turn it over to you for a little bit more on the process.
Thank you. And I think I have a takeaway. Masha, this is going to be my new mantra: honor and capture the Apollo 13 work on a daily. That should be on a bumper sticker. Excellent. So we heard a little bit about the why. Now let's talk about the process. As a teacher who wants to get involved with the Redesign Challenge, as an educator who wants to be part of this, where do I begin? What is the process? How do I get there? And I guess anybody, Masha, Kip?
I can jump in and talk quickly about the stages in the beginning process. But obviously, after visiting the site, the first stage is just sharing experiences. And within those experiences, depending on the theme of the topic, and for example, the topic now at hand, the professional development with respect to videos. So kind of what experiences have you had? And once you share those experiences, people respond and come back in and read other people's experiences that they've shared. And it kind of helps you start to begin to process and think about, well, through these experiences, am I noticing things I'd like to change? What are things that are lacking with my experiences that I've had? Which it starts to mold those ideas for you. And eventually, after sharing what you can and answering various questions in the experience stage, the second stage would be the ideas, when you can actually present an idea that you have. And what we kind of did was mine and look at various themes that were pulled out of the first stage, the experience stage, and utilize those to come up with some themes for questions for the idea stage, stage 2. And then once a teacher or once an educator is ready to share their idea, they present it, and then as community managers, we try to direct people who may have that same idea in mind, but could help refine it, could help add to the conversation, and try to connect the dots there as the process goes on. So it's that stage 1 and 2 in a nutshell is kind of where we're headed. And then I think Masha, you may be able to chat a little bit deeper about stage 3, stage 4 from there.
Yeah. So, and let me just, throw something out there, Kip. You just inspired me. So, one good example, Jess Wood, one of our amazing partners on this project, had a great conversation with some special ed teachers about this project. And they were interested in video, and they indicated that, none of the videos that are available to them focus on small group instruction. And they really want to hone their small group instructional skills because they're typically working in that sort of an environment. So to build on Kip's point, I think stage 2, you can either have an original idea, but you can also add a refinement or a comment even, just a one-liner that helps us begin a dialogue about what would it take to actually make these resources helpful to special ed teachers who are in the push-in or pull-out model. So that's one example of how you can contribute, really, light touch, and add a lot of value to these incredible ideas that are emerging. Stage 3, so we're gonna, we have an incredible contest, and every week we award a number of ideas, and you can see those on our website that we think are really promising, and all of them are actually promising, and sometimes by the time that stage 2 ends, our judges, whom we'll announce pretty soon here, are going to sort of look across all of the ideas that have emerged on the site, and they'll select the ones that, using a set of criteria we'll clearly share with you, ones that have a lot of potential, that are tangible, that seem realistic, that are out of the box. Like, they'll use different criteria to look across those ideas. The people who were original idea generators and who teamed around that idea will then have the opportunity to really shape those ideas, as I said, during an in-person process. And so the ideas that get selected will be brought into an offline design session, and specialists who can help support that idea, whether they're a developer, a startup weekend, or a designer, will add their 2 cents and their input on how to make that idea come to life. But we didn't think that was good enough, because now we have a bunch of ideas. Great, and who has the time to go look at these things again, right? So we thought about what are some really good ways to encourage people to then try the amazing ideas that emerge from this community in the real world when school starts. And so we are providing supports for the folks who attended this event, offline event, to then try those ideas out. And the incentive is, like, try them out and tell us what worked, but also tell us what didn't. Right? This is sort of the agile development process. Tell us what didn't work, because that is a refinement opportunity for that idea. And so we thought that only if we gave the people in this community the opportunity to go through all of those stages would this be a really meaningful experience for them and for the others who then ultimately join the community.
Okay, great. Brad, would you like to add anything to, to that about the stages, or?
No, I'm fine. I think that, one thing that I think is going to be really, really interesting, and I think I said this earlier, is that this work is only in its early stages. And so I'm really encouraged to see sort of what happens whenever you have, as Masha likes to call it, a sandbox, where all the ideas can play, and across different stakeholder groups. We talk a lot about teacher leadership, and we're all big proponents of teacher leadership, but there also is not a lot of opportunity for our most effective teachers and our most effective administrators to sit at the same table and have some real conversations around problems and solutions. And I think that this space could be that. And so I think Masha, summarized everything really, really succinctly. I don't have a whole lot to add, but I'm just really encouraged about the potential for what this could be. And I'm actually, the reason you see me looking down at my phone is because I'm actually still having the conversation with Wicked Decent Learning about design.
Nice work, Brad. Nice work.
Brad, can I just illustrate, though? I love your point about this being about the whole sort of ecosystem. We'd love to see principals out there if you're listening. We know your jobs are really hard. Rose is the principal. We admire her. We want to see recipes that, for example, in this PD video case, help other principals establish what the protocols and scheduling and time requirements might be for people to actually, engage in a dialogue around a video. Because we know that teachers could have great ideas, but if there isn't the time and the space and the support to bring them to life, if we don't understand what those approaches look like from an administrator's point of view, then we're not going to get all the way there. So we'd really love to get some input from leaders at our schools about what it would take to bring some of these ideas to life from an administrative standpoint, from an instructional leadership standpoint. Those would be really, really valuable insights for us.
And I would be really encouraged to see what would happen if an entire content area, PLC or department, who maybe doesn't have the synchronous time to collaborate together, could collaborate asynchronously on this space around their PD needs, and then connect with the teacher or an administrator or any of the other education stakeholders that are contributing some solutions and ideas, and reach out to them and have some personal contact and have a potential face-to-face meeting, or realize that there's a team in a district next door working on the same thing. So I think that because time is the factor that none of us have, I mean, it's the most precious commodity that any educator has is time. That this platform can offer an opportunity for that asynchronous work to take place, so that whenever you do have face-to-face time, you've done all the legwork. I don't know what the next topic is, but I'm encouraged to see what the next topic is, because I think all of these issues that we're discussing now, they really drill down to professional learning, and that's what everyone's hungry for.
Well, and can I add one thing too? Is that okay, guys?
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
When Masha was talking about the refinement, how these can be, these ideas can be refined, and what I am getting out of a lot of the conversation is sometimes an idea or something, this PD may not fit the needs of a specific school, but the fact that there's so much reflection going on and happening throughout this process, a group of teachers, like Brad said, a PLC, or teachers and administrators working together in a school can refine these ideas and take it to the next step and meet the needs of their kids where they are. And I think that's what we're always looking for, that personalized instruction. How can we reach every kid, but what makes this PD special for our kids? And that's why this process is so amazing to me.
I think that I have a lot of takeaways from just that small part of the discussion, and I agree with you all. It's so important to get administrators and teachers working together in this space to make learning better for our kids and to make learning better for teachers, and to move away from any adversarial relationships that are there, and to truly listen and understand one another to make these things happen for us. We're at a place in education that I think is one that we've not seen before. It's a very exciting space where teachers are using their voice. They're networking in their buildings. They're networking outside in national spaces, and helping each other solve everyday problems. So such great points here, and I can hear all of the passion in all of your voices as you talk about it, which makes me very happy. I'm smiley over here. So that's fantastic, and thanks so much for introducing that into the conversation, because that's so important. All right.
I'll jump in there and say something.
Rosa?
Yeah, and I think from the administrator perspective, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. From the administrator perspective, I am just so over hearing about the fidelity to programs and accountability. I can tell you that my team is very excited about the possibilities and look to me for support, and that is human resources, fiscal resources, moral support, the support to make mistakes, and to refine the work that we're doing for students. That for me is a true collaboration, and it's something that's been missing for, I would say, the team of teachers that have been educators for maybe the last 10 years or so. We don't know anything different other than everything that came about from through NCLB and the accountability piece. So fostering and encouraging my team to be creative, to explore ideas, to support each other, is very important to me. And I can tell you that not every administrator is on the same page, and not every district office administrative team is on the same page. When it's happening, it is magical. And what happens with students and for educators just gives me chills. That's part of the reason why I wanted to be part of this challenge, and I'd like to spread the word. So well put, everybody. Thank you for sharing that piece. But bringing in the administrators, we are often encouraged to support and to be instructional leaders. But who coaches the coaches? Who coaches the administrators? How do we build capacity with administrators and our collaborative teams? It just doesn't happen. We have to make mistakes. We have to invest time and resources for it to happen. I can see it happening here at my site, surely, but slowly, and projects like Redesign Challenge give us an opportunity to continue that work. So thank you very much for allowing me to voice my administrative perspective.
Rosa, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second and ask you this question. What advice would you give to administrators who haven't yet seen the vision?
You know, it's like with a couple of teachers who haven't quite seen the vision here. I model, I support, I provide the time, the resources to do it, and I share. We don't advocate enough. We are a silent voice in this entire system, and it is time to break out of that system and promote the wonderful things that are happening. And this is a way to do it. But I just think we are not out, Twitter, social media. We don't advocate like we should for each other, and we have to help each other find a voice. What I see happening is that can be very contagious and empowering. I work in a very small district, but I share as often as I can, and people will come to me, and I will go to others and ask questions, and then you grow. You grow a team that is excited about taking a risk and doing something that's a bit different, but you can't argue with data and results, and that is that's something that we need to promote and share with everyone. So model, promote, advocate, be a voice.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we've talked about our why, we've talked about the process, we've talked about that Innovators Weekend a bit, and what happens after. There is a question that came to us through Twitter. The question is there a wider plan for dissemination of the results of the Redesign Challenge? Masha, would you like to take that?
Yes. Please reach out to everybody and anybody in your network, and they can all join the Redesign Challenge site and have access to the ideas, the amazing recipes that will emerge from the Innovators event, as offline event, as well as the stories that will be accompanying those recipes, so that we have a really good sense of what works and doesn't. Literally anybody. We don't, like, in fact, someday we may have ideas that require input from our students or our parents. We could get really crazy. But for now, invite, please, anybody in your network. We're looking for folks to share the link to the website on via social media. We don't require you to log in. You can just browse. Of course, if you want to share a comment or an idea, you have to log in, but super easy to browse through the site. So join us. Join the Redesign Challenge. The movement, it's your movement.
All right, so I guess, Rosa, all that's left for us is to find out what's next.
Yes, what's next for the Redesign Challenge, Masha?
I feel like I got way too much airtime, you guys. So
we're going to ask everybody.
So here's the thing, and I just want to make sure that before we get off, we hit all the questions on Twitter. I know you guys are keeping track of that. You're much better at multitasking than I am. So First of all, there's a really interesting opportunity if you just go on the site for people to share their best ideas about what the next challenge should be. So, you know, we started with PD Video. Christopher Ronke, one of our amazing community managers, wrote a really great blog about why we started with PD Video. Please read it. It's pretty interesting, and I think he captured that really well. But we know that there are so many challenges, or not even challenges, sometimes innovation opportunities that people in the field want to tackle, and that we believe this process could help support. And so I think that rather than, you know, have us think about or determine what the next steps should be, we're looking to the crowd, to the people out there in our network and across our network to tell us what it should be. And there will be a moment where we reach out to you and we ask you to sort of vote on the set of ideas that are going to be entering into our challenge pipeline, and we'll go from there. I think my hope ultimately is that we're using, as Brad and Kip put it so eloquently, this process synchronously, asynchronously, that people are relying on it in ways that we haven't even envisioned, and that, you know, we're starting to share ideas in ways that are actually tangible and digestible. I know as a teacher I would get a number of white papers on my desk or case studies, and those are really inspiring in many cases, but they're really hard to sort of distill into, okay, what do I do next? And so I hope anytime you have an incredible idea about how to take action on a particular approach that you're trying out, you'll share it in this community and others will benefit from it.
All right. So I guess just in parting tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and start with Brad, some final thoughts on Redesign Challenge tonight before we say goodnight.
So I apologize. I have literally 4 kids standing at the doorway. I cannot wait to see what Redesign Challenge becomes. I mean, the fact that so many people have already started to contribute, and it's really in its early stages, and there are so many good ideas housed there. I hear from teachers all across Kentucky oftentimes, and they will talk about Redesign Challenge. You know, I work with Hope Street Group. I had someone ask me, wow, I can't believe Hope Street Group's doing Redesign Challenge. I was like, we're not. But that just tells you how viral this thing is, right? How many people are actually playing on that site with ideas and building on each other's knowledge. I just can't wait to see what's next, truth be told. I think it's kind of endless. And then, you know, eventually we will, or not we, they, the group will end up refining this and making a 2.0 and a Redesign Challenge 2.0. And what does that become? I think we take the 30,000 foot view. It's all positives at this point.
All right, thanks, Brad. Jess, I'm going to invite you to the chat. You know, tell us what you think. What are your takeaways from tonight, or you know, summing up your thoughts on Redesign Challenge thus far?
Summing up my thoughts on Redesign Challenge so far is what an amazing community that has come together on the site. It's wonderful reading folks' ideas, the exchanges that are happening through formats like Hangouts, and I just can't wait for these folks to begin connecting over things like this in person at our Innovators Weekend, or even as we all begin to experiment with the ideas that emerge in our own classrooms, in our own schools, in our own contexts. It's going to be a really fantastic conversation. I can't wait to see the kind of impact that it has for educators and for students.
All right, thanks. Kip, same question coming to you.
I'd have to piggyback, Jess, on that one about the community and the collaboration that's going to come out of it. I'm excited to see what makes of educators, you know, end up forming a team or forming ideas and crossing those barriers that have existed. You know, everybody's kind of isolated in their own group, teachers, administrators, or whatever. I think this presents that opportunity that we've all been waiting for, and it's going to be really cool to see what comes out of that. And once that idea starts to spread like wildfire, I think, Brad, that's what you said, you know, just what networks it goes to, and you know, how many people just join the cause and become part of the Redesign Challenge and join the excitement.
All right, great, thanks. Masha, one more time. Parting thoughts for our crowd tonight?
You know what? I challenge everybody listening or anybody that downloads this video at some point or sees this on Twitter to join the Redesign Challenge. Because ultimately, it will just be another website in the education space unless we use it the way I think we've envisioned and talked about here. And it's not our site, it's your site. So please come contribute ideas. We can't wait to hear from you.
All right, thanks. Rosa, same question to you.
Oh gosh, my biggest takeaway is Masha was great. You were all wonderful, but I'm going to get bumper stickers that say embrace your inner Apollo 13 on a daily. This is very exciting. Allow the creativity, ask lots of questions, and seek support to make this happen. So thanks to the Redesign Challenge for giving so many educators the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Rosa. And I echo all of that. It's been such an amazing experience working with Redesign Challenge. I'm so inspired by the ideas I see, but not just the ideas, the collaboration that's happening, and the ability as a community guide to link the people who need to be linked, and spark some conversations that are going to change our world. So I'm really excited about that and the potential. So I am going to I'm going to keep watching those challenges and wait to see who brings those ideas forward. So I'm going to invite you all in as well, and I'm going to thank all of you for spending your time here with us tonight, because we know educators are busy and this is a busy, busy time of year. So for those of you who joined us in the conversation, and those of you who are watching, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Now I am going to spend the rest of my night on Redesign Challenge, so I'm going to challenge you all to join me there. Come visit us at redesignchallenge.org, and jump into the challenge. All right, so that's it for us tonight. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Night-night.